Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. I have this back in front of me, working on it again, finally. I'm trying to find some of the LEDs I soldered together for it, but that's beside the point. While I was looking for it, I found these guys. Let's see if I can get it to focus correctly, Mr. Camera. Okay, these are micro USB ports, not mini, micro. Okay, I didn't want to use the small ones. The USB cables have a few problems with them. I'm going to cut one of these open and take a look at it, because I want to put a USB port in the back of this thing, and I want to be able to plug the USB cable in to charge it. Okay? Now these ports are not very expensive. I bought them off eBay, and I don't remember what I paid for them, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 of them in a shipment, and I think it was like $4 for 20 of them. They came from Japan, no, China, so, you know, you wait a little bit for them to get here, but you don't pay much a piece for them, like 25, 30 cents each, and you can't be upset by that. So this doesn't want to open. I cut it open, and it won't come out. No, there we go. Now she's coming out. Now what I'm going to do, this is not going to be fun to solder. That's what I was afraid of when I got these small ports. Let me move this guy off to the side for a moment while I pull the camera down, since we have a white background here. Let's see how far this camera can zoom. And it may not zoom enough that we can see this. It looks like it's going to, though. Yeah, it is. Alright, there's full zoom on this thing. Now, I'm going to take a piece of paper. It's a post-it note. It's not sticky enough, but I can get away with this. We can see if we can get this thing to zoom correctly. There's my thumb. There it is. Let's see how far up closer we can get this. Will she focus? There, she's focusing. Okay, this is amateur video hour right here. No doubt of that, correct everyone? We're getting shaky cam even though the camera is on a tripod. Alrighty. Now, if you can see those 4 pins running across the top, copper pins, that's what we got to solder to. Those guys are tiny. They're better than a surface mount LED, but not much. Okay? They don't protrude any. They are surface mount. Now, I don't know if I can, and yeah, that does bend out. The little Y part there does bend out. And that's probably for holding things, but it's not. So let me put this back under camera and let's see if we can get her focused again. This camera really doesn't want to focus on something this close. Put my hand down. There we go. Now let's get her back under. There it is. Okay, now you can see the 4 pins. That little Y piece does bend down. The outer ones are the power supply on those pins. The outer ones are the power supply, so you have to solder a wire to the outer 2. The 2 center ones are data. And they're surface mount right there, so you're going to be soldering that to the surface. I'm almost tempted right now just to take a USB cable and cut it and use that. Okay? Because that would be easier than this will be. I will attempt to do it, and it's okay if I mis-solder the 2 outer pins together on each one. Do they? Oh, they do protrude some. This is good. I could see that they do protrude, and if we start tilting this thing around, you can see it. The 4 pins do protrude out the end. So it won't be as bad. I could clip the center 2 off and then solder to the outer 2. It's not as bad as I thought. You couldn't tell until you pulled this bed down. All right, so that will be easy. There are clamps for clamping it down, so you could use those with some epoxy to glue this thing down. to your work. Let's put the zoom back to normal so we can actually see some stuff. So after looking at this and isolating, I know I can get this to work. Now, the reason why I want to use something this small is if you're building a model of an X-Wing or something, I could plug directly into the X-Wing with this, or I could plug into any base discreetly with this. It's small enough to do that. A regular USB port is large. Now, on a wooden base or something, you could use a regular USB port just fine, and you would never notice. But if you want to put the port on the model itself, you're going to need something small. And a port like that, really, on the scale of things, like this guy right here, done discreetly, you wouldn't even notice it. Okay? Here, let's do a zoom. One of these zooms. I'm doing the famous zoom. You wouldn't really notice it if this is done discreetly because this USB, which I just dropped onto the floor, is not very large. Hi. Definitely amateur hour tonight. But this guy isn't very large, and if you look at him from the proper perspective, from the side view, it is really not very large. Definitely could go in one of these feet. And then you could plug up through the feet. That's if I wanted to light this guy up. I'm not lighting this guy up. He's been more Miri's toy than anything. This little walker, she comes in here and plays with him when I'm working. Okay, I mean, that's what Revel wanted her for, build and play. And we built it, and she plays with it. She loves pushing the button at the top. All right, so there you go. The USB port's going to work. I will come back and show you what I'm doing with the fiber optics, okay? Once I find them and get it working. Back in a bit. I've soldered up a couple of the LEDs. They've got resistors on them for 5 volts because that's what USB provides. I epoxy glued them in, but I wasn't paying attention to how long the brass tubes were. This brass tube right here is far too short. So I went and got another brass tube of a larger diameter. I can put that over the top. I'm going to epoxy that down and epoxy the fiber optics in. Now, one of the things about the brass tubes is brass is a metal and it shields light. So the reason I'm using the brass tubes is twofold. One, it shields the light. Not that I need it in this thing. This thing is pretty heavy plastic, and it's a dark plastic. You're not going to have LED light lock. I mean, you're going to have light leak through the plastic. But you might have light leak between fibers, which can occur if the fibers are not painted. In this one, I'm not so worried about it because all the fibers are going to be lit, either red, white, or orange. I don't think I'm going to use blue because I don't think that would look right. Okay, so I'm not going to have any issues there. All right. So I'm about to glue that in with some more epoxy resin and start gluing fibers in with it. I got to cut the fibers to length though. This one's already cut the length and you can see it just fits in the tube just fine. So I got to pick out a few more to put in there. I don't want to fill this thing too much. I mean, that is a red LED and it wouldn't upset me if everything glows red on this side. Okay. I'm missing some fibers off this side. That's weird. It's almost like someone was up here playing with it and yanking fibers out. But I don't have fibers laying around anywhere. I just noticed these holes right here don't have fibers. And I know I put fibers in them. You guys, yeah, we're off camera a little bit. But these two don't have fibers sticking out. And I know I put them in there. Could be that my 3-year-old got in here and started pulling on things. Or the 1-year-old. Hard to say. I'm going to see if I can find the fibers because they should be here somewhere. If they're not, then I'm going to have to recut and reapply them, and I'll do that first. Because with the fibers, they are glued in with epoxy resin, and I did bloom the ends of them a little bit so they mushroomed and they fit in a little bit better. That's easy to do. You just take a little cigarette lighter and melt them a little bit. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. Well, I got a magnifier glass. I'm getting old and my eyes don't see so well, and it lights up. And took a look. I didn't actually drill any holes in these two. So there's no fibers in it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it that way. That way one's dark. This one right here has the console screen. That's supposed to be glowing green. I did make a resin cast out of that in green. And the green is kind of thin on this. It's because I did a surface mold of it. It's okay. Now, what's been holding me up on this and why I've put it off for a while, this part. I got a perfect cast of it. It's a good cast of it. If you see it on paper, it's a little too light green. I was shooting for more of this color right here, up in this corner. My pigment, my dye, and my resin didn't get too evenly in there. Okay? What's holding me up is cutting this screen out and then replacing it with this one. I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up, and I don't want to mess it up. I haven't done anything like that in a little while. I've been thinking about how to do it. I'm going to take my Tamiya handy drill and drill a series of holes along there and then cut along the holes. So I should be able to cut it out fairly evenly. And then cutting this, if I'd done it when it was soft, I could have cut it with scissors. But it's cured up hard now, and it's not going to be so easy to cut with scissors. I'm going to have to cut it carefully. Okay? I can make another one of these. That's a good part. I still have the mold I made. The mold is here. This is Oya Maru. Okay? You heat it up with hot water, boiling water. You place it over the thing you want to make a copy of. Let it cool, pull it off, and you've got a mold. So I can make another copy of this easily. So if I screw this up, that's no problem, but I can't screw this part up. Okay? I'm going to leave this one without any holes in it. So let me get going on this. I'm going to get at least one round of fibers glued tonight so I can quit. I'll be back in a bit. All right, I have the fiber optics glued in. I've already applied power to them to make sure the fibers are aligned correctly before that epoxy resin cures. It's 5-minute epoxy. It's going to cure pretty quickly, and right when it starts getting stiff, I check the lighting so I can get it done. One bad thing though, right here, I broke that fiber. So I'm going to have to drill that out and replace it. Or I can leave it, and any light leak inside there, and there's a little bit, will give it a dim glow. And I might just leave it because the dim glow might be fine to me. Okay. I still have 6 or 7 fibers that need lights. I'm trying to decide the colors of them. I don't have too much more to do with that. I just pick an LED, pick a resistor, solder it, put a tube in, put the fibers in, glue them down. And then the inside of this is done except for the screen up here. And again, I'm pretty hesitant to drill that out. I know I can recast this, and I do have black resin dye, so I could color it black. And the reason for that is then I would only have to paint it silver, but it's going to be really hard to color match this, so I got to be really careful when I cut that out. Like I said, I'm a little afraid to cut that. As long as I don't do it poorly, it'll be okay, and I think I'll start in the center and work my way outwards with some files. That way it isn't going to be too bad. I'm going to let this sit and cure up overnight. Once I'm done with that, I can come up here and solder the other 1 or 2 LEDs together, get them glued down, get the fibers run, drill this one out. Pretty sure I still have the right drill bit in the little handy drill. Put a new fiber in. We're going to be done with this pretty soon. This project's getting near done. The big deal is going to be soldering the USB port together. I may, again, just drill a hole and run a USB cable through it. I do have a USB cable I cut the top off of. So I could just use this cable pretty quickly. And I already have it cut to red and black. So I can do a test lighting and make sure it's working correctly. Alright? And this is a plain old normal USB cable. So I could cut a hole, run this through, put a knot in it so you can't pull it back, and epoxy that knot down to the back of this thing. Alright, I'll be back in a little bit when I get some more work done.